Hi there, my name is Sam. I work here at BMC Tactical and I'm the armor. I've looked at a lot of videos that were on the internet and I've noticed that a lot of people have some really cool stuff on their AR-15s. And since we specialize that here and I'm an armor, I thought we would take a look at some of the easier things that it would take to make your AR-15 a nicer and just a cooler weapon all the way around. There's something as simple that we can just throw on there that'll enhance the rifle greatly, and it'll be something like the trigger guards, the charging handles. We can look at some of the rail systems, maybe even some of the muzzle brakes that are real simple and easy to put on. You can do this at home. It just takes a couple of little tricks, a little bit of know-how, and then we can go ahead and alter your AR-15 so you have something a little cooler to deal with. Okay, now we're ready. If you notice, this particular rifle has a pistol grip on it. We have to remove the pistol grip in order so we can get at this trigger guard. You don't have to, but I recommend that you do, so that way you've got a good control of the area that you're working on right here. So we'll go ahead, we'll take an Allen wrench, we'll go ahead and remove the pistol grip. Be careful not to lose the small parts. There's a little spring and detent here for the safety selector lever, which I will show you. Right here, this little spring. Generally it'll stay in the pistol grip, but we want to make sure that it isn't bent, broken, or just missing when it comes time to replace the pistol grip. There's also, in this particular hole, that right there is a detent that you can see inside that little tiny hole. We want to make sure we do not lose that detent. Now if you don't touch it, it won't go anywhere, but make sure if you're manipulating the rifle in any way, you don't turn it over and then it disappear on the floor, because then you'll be praying to the parts god and searching all over the carpet or your concrete floor or wherever else you choose to work. Now, after we've got this down, I created this little special tool, which is just a little just a little block of wood with a couple of holes in it. This is going to go on the bottom portion, and we're going to rest the lower tab onto the piece of wood there. Just that simple. Before you start, I always recommend that you drop a little bit of oil. The oil doesn't matter, it just helps get in and around the spring pin. Therefore, it'll maybe help it slide a little better, so that way you don't have to pound as hard. So now, after we get that set up, we align the hole, and now we just tap. Now I'm going to show you a quick little trick here. If you look at this, as you're tapping the little spring pin, if you angle the straight pin punch, you'll notice that it won't go all the way through. It kind of hits to the side. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to angle it a little bit so that way I push the pin past the point that I need to remove the trigger guard, but at the same time not drift the pin completely out of the lower receiver. And that way it'll make it easy, so we could just flip it over and pound the pin right back into the trigger guard again. So, get back to doing this here. Notice it's nice and loose there. I'm just going to angle it a little bit and continue tapping, and then try it. It's not good enough. Do it again. Almost. There we go. Now we're free. Now if you look closely, you notice that the spring pin hasn't come out of the receiver. It's still in there, but it was clear enough for us to remove the handguard so we can swing it out. Now the front portion, depending on the trigger guard that you have, most likely it'll be the stock trigger guard, which has a little spring detent. This is the one that's in a standard AR-15. It's a simple piece of aluminum. Sometimes they're made out of plastic. It's really cheap, really not very well made. So, you know, normally you could just push the button and remove it from the handguard. This one happens to have an aluminum Magpul trigger guard on it already. So it takes an Allen wrench to go inside the hole and then remove this trigger guard. So we're going to unscrew the set screw. It's called an anti-rattle screw, by the way. And we're going to go ahead and pull it out of there. So now we have the trigger guard removed. The new trigger guard that we're going to put in there, it's going to look like that, and of course it's going to fit real nice and pretty into that same slot. This one also has an anti-rattle screw, therefore we need the parts for this one. This is the trigger guard made by Phase 5 Tactical, which we carry here at BMC. So then we open up the package here and we'll pull out the supplied Allen wrench. And the screw. I'm going to put the front in first. Okay, we're not going to tighten it all the way because we need a little bit of room to move in the back. We want to ensure that we align the holes so that way they fit. Okay, after we have that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take and flip the rifle over. Don't forget about your special tool here. That's going to go in there to brace. Now we're going to lightly tap. If you have to pound too hard, then obviously it's not aligned and it won't go in. So now that we're here, okay, we're getting close, and so we don't damage the outside, we're going to align it as perfectly as we can on the spring pin, and each little tap will drive it further and further in until it's flush. Okay, we'll flip the rifle back over. Now this is the detent right here. This little thing is what makes your selector lever and your safety click back and forth. We're going to take and drop that back in the hole, so it's back inside that hole there. And now we're going to put the pistol grip back on. Okay, right here, this is the most important part. We need to ensure that we have that little tiny spring inside the hole for the selector lever. When it comes to tightening down the pistol grip, you want it hand tight. A lot of the cheaper brands of pistol grips that you get out there, like the Hogue, will actually snap if you tighten too tight on that pistol grip. So now we have the finished product. And that's a cool, cheap way to go ahead and replace a trigger guard on your AR-15. Now that we have it on there, we can go ahead and tighten up that little anti-rattle screw. And that'll just be nice and hand tight also.